he thought he had lost his way. The path was correct. The trees were familiar. But where the village once stood, there was nothing. In the heart of the savannah, where the land rolled like sleeping giants and the wind carried old songs through tall grasses, there once stood a village called Al-Ayamf, the place of chosen people. It did not appear on maps. Travelers rarely spoke of it. And those who did often lowered their voices, as though the earth itself might be listening. Al-Ayamf was old, older than the baobab trees that guarded its borders, older than the stories told by moonlight. The elders claimed the village had been built where the world was thin, where the living and the unseen brushed past one another like strangers in the dark. But life there was ordinary. Children laughed and chased goats through red dust paths. Women sang as they pounded yam at dawn. Men returned at sunset with nets heavy with fish from the river Oron, whose waters glowed faintly under the moon. And every night, without fail, the villagers gathered around the sacred fire in the center of the village. That fire had burned for generations. No one remembered who lit it first. They only knew one rule. The fire must never go out. On the night the village disappeared, the moon was swollen and red, the color of fresh palm oil. That alone unsettled the elders. Red moons do not rise without reason, old Baba Sogan, the village diviner, muttered as he scattered cowries onto the ground. They landed face down. All of them. A bad sign. Earlier that day, a stranger had arrived. He came from the forest path, barefoot, dust-covered, and silent. No one saw him enter the village. He was simply there. He wore no tribe's markings. His eyes were pale, like ash after a fire. When he spoke, his voice sounded distant, as though echoing from somewhere far away. "I am thirsty," he said. Custom demanded hospitality. Water was given. Food followed. But the stranger did not eat. He only stared at the sacred fire. "It burns too brightly," he said. The villagers laughed uneasily. "It has always burned," said Adarunk, the potter's daughter. "As it always will." The stranger turned to her slowly. "Then you have forgotten why it was lit." That night, Baba Sogan begged the council to extinguish the fire before sleep, just for one night, to appease the spirits. The council refused. "To let it go out is to invite disaster," the chief declared. The stranger smiled. "A fire that burns without rest will one day consume what feeds it." Before dawn, he was gone. It began with silence. No rooster crowed at sunrise. No goats bleated. No pestle struck mortar. When Monarchy, a young hunter from a neighboring settlement, reached Al-Ayamf that morning, he thought he had lost his way. The path was correct. The trees were familiar. But where the village once stood, there was nothing. No huts. No footprints. No ashes. Not even the sacred fire. The earth was smooth, untouched, as if no human had ever lived there. Monarchy ran through the clearing, shouting names. No answer came. Only the wind. And beneath it, something else. A faint sound. Like whispers buried under soil. News spread quickly. Hunters, traders, elders, all came to see the empty land. Some said the villagers had angered the gods. Others claimed slave raiders had taken them. But no tracks led away. No blood stained the ground. Baba Sogan's apprentice, a boy named Ifaimi, arrived days later, shaking with fear. "I dreamed of the village," he said. "It is still there." The elders demanded silence. But Ifaimi continued. "They did not leave," he whispered. "They were folded." That night, the elders performed a forbidden rite, warned men to listen to the earth. Drums were beaten slowly. Palm wine was poured. And the ground beneath the clearing trembled. Then, voices rose. Hundreds of them. Layered. Overlapping. crying. The earth itself spoke. The truth of Al-Ayamf. Long before the village was built, the land belonged to Ayamel, ancient beings older than names. They were not gods. They were not spirits. They were witnesses, keepers of balance between worlds. The sacred fire was not meant to burn forever. It was a signal. Lit only when the boundary between realms weakened. Lit only when danger approached. But over generations, the meaning was forgotten. The fire became tradition. Then pride. Then identity. Each year, it burned brighter. Each night, it fed on offerings. Each generation, the boundary thinned. Until the witnesses could no longer sleep. The stranger was one of them. His warning ignored. And so, when the fire burned under the red moon, the witnesses acted. Not in anger, but in correction. They did not destroy Al-Ayamf. They removed it. Folded the village into the space between moments, a place where time does not move forward or back. A place where stories wait. Not everyone vanished. 3 people were spared. Adorank, the potter's daughter. Ifaimi, the apprentice. And a newborn child whose name was never spoken. They were outside the village when it happened, beyond the boundary, where the fire's pull was weakest. Adorank later confessed something chilling. On the night of the disappearance, she woke suddenly. The sacred fire had gone silent. Not extinguished. Silent. And from the darkness, she heard singing, not human, not cruel, but heavy with sorrow. Then the ground breathed. And the village was gone. Years passed. Al-Ayamf was never rebuilt. Trees refused to grow there. Animals avoid it. Sometimes, on red moon nights, travelers swear they see lights flickering beneath the soil, like a fire struggling to be remembered. Elders now tell a different version of the story. They say the village still exists. Still living. Still gathering around a fire that no longer burns wood, but memory. Waiting. For the day someone makes the same mistake. Because stories, like fires, are not meant to burn without purpose. And some villages do not disappear. They are withdrawn. Somewhere beneath the earth, a fire still waits. And when it burns again, another village will be remembered. Kindly like, share and subscribe for more stories at Evertold Stories. Thank you.